Hey everybody, Mr. Egan here, and today we're going to be looking at how to complete the first couple days of your asteroid defense project, where we're looking to complete the asteroid solution evaluation. If you remember, this is an evaluation of all the different ways that we can stop an asteroid from hitting Earth. And for this part, we're going to be breaking down the asteroid solutions by their strengths and weaknesses and evaluating and selecting the best solution based on a pros and cons list. As we do this, we should easily be able to understand how you pick the best solution to use within your experiment. So, how do we go about evaluating the asteroid solutions? We have 4 steps to complete this and the criteria within this component. Step 1, we're setting up a document where you can record your research for each of our solutions. Step 2, we're going to research the different defense solutions that we've gone over. 3, we're going to identify the strengths and weaknesses. And then 4, we're going to evaluate a minimum of 2 solutions to select the best one using a pros and cons list. So if you click on the science lesson here, it brings you to our breakdown of this very first part, where for these couple days, we're going to be researching the strengths and weaknesses of those different asteroid solutions and then evaluating to pick the best one. Step 1 starts with setting up a document to record your research for each of our solutions. You have to create a document that allows you to research all 5 solutions. We have brute force, nuke it, graffiti it, solar sail, and gravitational tractor. For each of these 5 solutions, you need to know a basic description. What is it? A basic function. How does this solution work? Strengths and weaknesses, what makes it a good idea versus a bad idea for stopping an asteroid. And then we need to have a record of our research. So in other words, links and whatnot to where we found our information as we're researching. So thinking to ourselves, we have 5 solutions here, and I need to know these 4 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, about each of these 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 solutions. So my job is to create a Google Doc that allows me to record information about all 5 solutions and more specifically, this information. So when I go into my document, I should be able to see for brute force, what is it? How does it work? Strengths and weaknesses, the research I have for it. And then I should be able to see these 4 things for nuke it, these 4 things for graffiti, these 4 things for solar sail, and so on. And that's how we complete step 1. Just setting up our doc. We're not actually going to be researching anything yet. Step 2 is where we start our research. We have to research all the different asteroid solutions, and then we have to put it in our doc. So we have some questions we need to ask ourselves. Number 1, what resources work best for you when learning about something new? Are you somebody who goes straight to Google? Do you like to watch videos on YouTube? Are you somebody who looks for certain websites like .orgs that are more reliable? Are you somebody who likes to read articles versus watching videos? What works best for you? Find that resource. Second question we got to ask ourselves is, what information do I need to complete for my research doc? Well, as I'm reading, as I'm watching, as I'm searching, I'm looking for all 5 solutions in these 4 things. Last but not least, what resources can I post to the Padlet to help myself and my team research? So from here, we have a link to our Padlet where you guys can, and this is also found here on our project doc, post any resources you find about all of our solutions. So we have brute force, nuke it, graffiti, and so on. You can go in here and not only post, but use some of the things your classmates have posted. Once you've done all of your research and you feel you have enough information, we're then going to identify the strengths and weaknesses of using each solution. So as we're looking for strengths and weaknesses, we're asking, how can I use my key concepts to decide if the solution is a good idea or a bad idea for stopping an asteroid? And how do I evaluate the real world cost to deciding if it's a good idea or a bad idea for stopping an asteroid? So the example we're going to use is from the movie. And if you remember in the movie, we had that little tiny rocket with that chemical in there, that made up chemical that really isn't real world. That being said, if we were to try to use that rocket, there's a few things that would allow us to say, you know what, this is a bad idea, and hey, you know what, this actually might be a good idea. So first and foremost, let's talk about how do we use our key concepts. One of our key concepts says, even though the forces exerted on each object in a collision is the same strength, If the object has different masses, their changes will be different. So, because the rocket's mass was so small, the force of the collision with the asteroid would not cause the larger mass asteroid to change its velocity. So, this makes it a bad idea. This rocket, if it were to hit this, wouldn't do anything. It doesn't have enough mass, doesn't have enough velocity to change the asteroid in its collision. So, this would make it a very bad idea. And this key concept allows me to connect that idea to being a bad one. So, that's how we use our key concepts. In terms of cost, number one, the rocket was very small mass, and the thrusters can cause its velocity to change easily, which is true. It was easily launched, easily took off, easily hit the asteroid. Therefore, it would need to be launched very close to the asteroid. This is not a very good idea because in order for it to launch very close to the asteroid, we would either need to, number one, launch it from Earth, which is very dangerous, or number two, send up another shuttle to launch it in space, which would cost more money, which would cost more resources and time. Not a very good idea. Last but not least, the rocket has a very small mass, therefore it would not take a lot of time, money, or resources to use. If you remember from the video, they were able to launch it very easily. They were able to use a few people. It didn't take a lot of time. So this actually would be a good idea in terms of using it as a solution for stopping the asteroid. So that very small mass makes it an easy thing to buy, easy thing to make, easy thing to use. So overall, this would probably be a bad idea because I have more bad ideas than good ideas. So notice I have all my good ideas and my bad ideas identified, and this is where your pros and cons list come in. The last and final step is you have to evaluate and select the best solution using a pros and cons list. So for this, you have to pick out minimum 2 solutions and weigh their pros and cons against one another. So I would pull out whatever I feel is the 2 best solutions. I would look at which of those different things that I identified as strengths and weaknesses were good and bad, and I'd weigh the pros and cons so that I can select, well, is solution 1 the best or solution number 2? Maybe solution 1 is the graffiti, maybe solution 2 is the nuke it, whatever it may be. But only when we're able to identify the benefits and disadvantages, the pros and cons of each of our 2 main solutions, can we help ourselves decide which is best, solution 1 or solution 2. So the last thing we're going to look at is our rubric. After we've completed all 4 of our steps, after we've created our doc, researched, identified strengths and weaknesses, and then evaluated 2 solutions with our pros and cons list, for this part of our rubric, we're going to be looking to see in your presentation, do you compare multiple pros and cons to at least 2 possible solutions to stop an asteroid? So when you present your initial solutions, you should compare your 2 main ideas, identify those pros and cons, and then pick out which is the best. I'm looking to see, do you have multiple pros and cons? And do you do that for at least 2 solutions? So graffiti versus nuke, solar sail versus tractor, whatever. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's how we complete all 4 steps. That is how we go about meeting the requirements of the rubric. If you have questions, reach out. Otherwise, good luck.